Okay, 30-second board. This will be your rundown of everything you need to be watching for at the Motocross of Nations. Riders and teams and formats that are familiar, but also not familiar. I'll give you the brief on the format with our 411, JT. It's a 3-moto format, and each team has 3 riders, and 2 of the 3 compete in each moto. And to me, one of the things that always rings interesting in this event is 2 of the motos, you will have 250s on the track with 450s, and they all count together as far as the overall is concerned. And that's totally different from what we see at any other race.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So 20 riders will consist of each class. You double those because of the overlap, makes up the 40 in each class. So it's a constant change of who's out there together. You have 250s versus 450s. And then the open guys, which typically are 450 riders, will be jumping in there as well throughout those motos. So it really gets interesting because you're going to have guys like Cooper Webb on a 250 battling, these unique races that we don't see any other time of the year.
Yeah, so with the 3-moto format, the lowest score wins, kind of like when we have a Triple Crown race in Monster Energy Supercross or a 2-moto overall in SMX. It's Olympic scoring. So if you get a first place in a moto, that's 1 point, etc. The lowest score wins. Since you have 2 riders in each of the 3 motos, you get 6 moto finishes, but each team gets to drop their worst. So you take 5 of your 6 scores, and lowest score wins what is called the Chamberlain Trophy, and that is the world title at Motocross of Nations. Hope you can follow all that. Now we'll get into the track, and this track does have some history with MXON back in 2017 and 06. What are your thoughts on Matterley Basin in the UK?
It's a beautiful racetrack. If it stays dry on the weekend, and that will be the theme. Everyone will be talking about, will it or will it not rain? Let's hope it stays dry. If it does, it's a track that I think will be conducive to Team USA. It's not one of the more eclectic, strange type tracks where riders are going to be searching for traction and they don't feel comfortable. This is one that they'll be able to get kind of used to very quickly. That's why you've seen Team USA win in 06. Now, 2017 was the opposite. It rained the entire weekend. Those are the conditions that I think would really go against Team USA. But if you're looking for a track that the guys can get on for the first time, because remember, none of the riders have ever ridden this racetrack before. So they're going to have Saturday to get used to it. In that situation where it's a dry day, I think they'll pick it up pretty quickly. The dirt, there's nice traction, it's kind of flowing. So overall, great facility. Just keep your eyes towards the skies because that will be the story.
We'll start running through some of the teams here. We're going to start with Spain because they have the headline of Jorge Prado now with back-to-back MXGP titles. But as we're going to see with team after team in this preview here, JT, getting 2 really good riders on a team is one thing. Finding a 3rd strong rider is really what often determines this event. And I feel like Spain, that's the situation. They have 2 very, very well-known riders. It's all about the 3rd there. Talk about that squad.
So for Spain, they have, as you mentioned, the back-to-back MXGP World Champion. That is a huge coup for them. You can almost guarantee he's going to be at the front every single start, and he's going to put a good result on the board. Backing him up, Ruben Fernandez, who is certainly capable. He's been a little hit and miss, had some crashes, but he is a good starter. He could rise to the occasion and be in the top 5 all day long as well. The real question is Oriol Oliveira, and he's a little bit unknown on the world stage, but he is that prototypical 3rd guy where that's where it's going to come down to. And it's almost unfair that so much pressure relies on him, but it's just, can he get one good score? And we're going to talk about other teams that are in the same spot. That 5th score that has to be used often comes from that 3rd rider. If they can do it, everything's in front of them. Podium is in play, but if they're running around 25th all day long, having to use that 22, 27 score as your 5th score, that really ruins any chance of glory on Sunday.
Yeah, he's been like hovering around top 10, 250 MX2 rider here and there, but then you're on the track with 450s. You're right. If that 10th best 250 guy becomes a 22nd overall, that's going to be tough, and it leaves no room for error for the other riders on the team. They can't have a throwaway moto between their top guys, Fernandez and Prado. We go to Great Britain. They're the home team, and certainly familiar. 2 of the 3 guys I feel like have been on this team forever, and one of them very familiar to us here in America, JT.
Yeah, Tommy Searle, this is likely the last time he'll ever race this event, but he has been going at it forever. The crowd's going to be going crazy for him on home soil. The other 2 guys, they're very capable. Conrad Muse has been battling Jeffrey Hurling for the British Championship all summer long. And you think about this, the track that all 3 of them have ridden many, many times. And the third rider was Max Anstey. He went 1-1 the last time the Motocross of Nations was at this event in 2017. He will have his very capable Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing motorcycle in England to race the MX2 class. Not many teams outside of the fans at the actual event will be talking about Team GB, but they could surprise, especially if conditions went sideways. Anstey rises to the occasion in the mud again. Don't count them out to be one of those underdog teams that surprises everybody on Sunday.
Yeah, Anstey won both motos overall the last time this race was held here on home soil or home mud in 2017. And it's always fun to talk to him. So here are some of his thoughts about go back to the Motocross of Nations in his home country.
Of course, for me, getting the opportunity to race back at home again, it doesn't come very often. So for me, it's going to be awesome. On a Star Yamaha, 2017 when I was last there for the Motocross of Nations in Matterley Basin. Obviously, it was a dream weekend for me. Do your research and go and watch some videos if you want. But yeah, it's definitely going to be awesome and a great time. And now we keep going for Star. Like, it's going to be cool with the more of the US guys coming over in the team, and definitely looking forward to riding my Star Yamaha around there.
All right, always fun to talk to Max, and who knows, man, if he really does damage this time on a 250, that is a huge, huge advantage for his team. And Mew's probably underrated because he's not racing MSGP or here in America, but I've heard great things about his speed. They could be spoilers. We go to a team that isn't here to spoil, JT. They are here to win. This might be the most stacked team going into this, the Netherlands. They've got to be right up there in the favorites list.
Yeah, these guys always bring it. The only thing that I can say is not on their side for this year is that it's not in the sand. It's actually a hard-packed racetrack. If it was in the sand, go ahead and hand them the trophy. It's probably over before we arrive. But you look at their lineup, Jeffrey Hurlings, he's one of the most legendary MXGP riders of all time, 102 GP wins. His legacy kind of speaks for itself. You have Kai de Wolf, who's coming off of his first ever MX2 World Championship. He is riding phenomenally well, and he's going to actually be able to ride a little bit pressure-free. He's really had to be careful the last few weeks to protect that points lead, so I think he's going to be riding on a much just different level than he's kind of been able to show lately, because he's not going to have the weight of that championship on him. And then Glenn Coldenhoff, you can never really judge how his season is. No matter what he's doing throughout the season, he's going to show up at this event and be absolutely lights out. Go back and look through the history of this event. Glenn Coldenhoff brings his A game every single year to this event. He dominated in Redbud. He dominated in Assen. He is one of the biggest gamers in the history of this event. So if you ask me right now, who am I looking at to win this event? I would put Netherlands right at the top. Maybe there's another team in here that, or maybe two you have to look at, but Netherlands has to be front and center.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because they have the good fortune that, for example, Hurlings and de Wolf are healthy and ready, and that's not the case for all the teams. We already mentioned Team USA and the problems they had fielding a team, and Belgium was set to be one of the youngest but also fastest teams in this, and they too lost 2 of their 3 original riders. So they're patching it together now.
Yeah, it's been chaos. And Sunday night, there was probably an hour window where they weren't racing anymore because they lost Liam Everts in China due to injury. Then they lost Sasha Kunin due to injury. He wasn't able to race the final few rounds. These undiagnosed leg injury they're still trying to sort out. So it was pure chaos behind the scenes. In the end, cooler heads prevailed. They're going to go racing with Brent Van Donik, but it's a really, really chaotic scene over at Belgium. But maybe this galvanizes them. Maybe this brings them all together and they show up and they bring their best stuff in England.
Yeah, so Van Donik jumps onto the team. Jago Geerts, who was Tom Vial's old rival from MX2, he's returning from injury. He'll race for the team. Lucas Kunin is probably the brightest shining young star coming out of Europe. Kind of him and his brother, kind of the Lawrence brothers of Europe. I think he really wanted to show what he could do on a big bike, but now he's going to have to go back down to the 250 at this event. Hard to say what you're going to get from this team. We've mentioned several times here, it's easy for teams to find 2 good riders. The third rider is often the weak or strong link. And Germany won this race one time about a dozen years ago because they had 2 really good riders and one other guy was able to get a 9th in a moto. And that might be the pathway for Germany again because they have 2 very good riders. One, JT, that's familiar to fans with Ken Roczen. We know he's going to show up for this event.
Yeah, Ken Roczen is Hey, you talk about one of the best riders Germany's ever had. Ken Roczen comes up immediately. He's backed up by Simone Langenfelder, who is a top 3 MX2 rider. So they have 2 heavy hitters. And then the third rider is a name that if you mentioned him in Germany, everybody would immediately know, Max Nagel, but maybe not outside. Maybe some American viewers going to wonder who this Max Nagel guy is. This guy's an MXGP regular. He was former factory Honda HRC. He's still winning German national championships to this day in his 30s. So they have a sneaky good team. But again, they fall into that category of what can Nagel do on Sunday. He's way past his prime, but can he muster up one more heroic performance and back up the likes of Roczen and Simone Langenfelder?
And then we go to Team Australia. I don't know if they're the favorite, but they have to be the most intriguing entry on this list. The ceiling is so high. You take the Lawrence brothers together, and they have Kyle Webster, who you could probably argue is the best motocross racer in Australia. We just don't know where he would register on the world stage, so to speak. But JT Webster's going to have to race at 250 here. What are the chances for Team Australia? We know what the Lawrence is. They're certainly in it.
They have an incredibly strong team. You know, the question will be, what can Webster bring, right? We know what to expect from both of the Lawrence brothers. They've been incredible all year long. The starts are going to be on point because, let's face it, when haven't they been good starters all year long? But the real question is, can they get it done? They've never won this event. The history of this event, Australia has never won. So that comes with a lot of pressure. That comes with a lot of expectation. And for a guy like Kyle Webster, he's going to be feeling that pressure, knowing that he's the third guy. But again, he's arguably the best domestic rider Australia has, right? He's winning all the races down under. He's getting a factory Honda HRC 250 on the weekend. So they're doing everything they can possibly behind the scenes to set themselves up for success. It's not going to be an easy task, but if you had to ask me, when are their best chances to ever win this event, I would have to point to now. So let's see if they can get it done, but this is about as good as it's ever looked.
Yeah, and credit to the Lawrences, who basically moved Webster into their spot in Florida, and he's been riding a 250 to adjust. Like you said, Team Honda rolling out the factory bike for him. They're giving it everything they have. But sometimes luck is a factor in this race, and it brings us to a different strategy for Team France. So much of this race you think is just about star power. France is a different way going about it, JT. It almost doesn't matter who's on the team. I don't know if it's infrastructure, organization, strategy, whatever it is. No matter who France has, they're always in this. They have been the most successful team, I think you could argue, over the last decade. And they have the same 3 riders that won this race last year.
Yeah, it's all of those things you said, Weege. They really kind of take this to an art form. They're really, we hear all these riders, Marvin Musquin, crafty, right? You always throw that word around. This is where it comes from. These guys live that out. Their team manager, they have a team coach of Gautier Prolan, who's won this event many, many times. They truly look for just winning in the margins. They look for the little edge everywhere they can. They have group training sessions where all the riders get together, train together for this specific event. So they have camaraderie when they show up. They just go about it a different way than everybody else. I would argue that they're the most prepared. They come in as truly as a team. And usually on Sunday, you can see that show up in the results. So nothing's a given. They're going to have a whale of a task to beat the teams we've already mentioned, but they have to be one that you're looking at, right? The smart money might be on France on Sunday. Hard pack, which is their forte, sets up pretty nicely for them.
And now we get to Team USA. We mentioned at the top, it's not the original team of Sexton, Hymas, and Plessinger. Plessinger seems pretty happy with the progress of his shoulder. He's at least not injured enough where he had to drop from the team. He's racing, he's fine. The big change was Hymas is out. And then we heard some crazy options that the team was exploring in the 250 class. But huge credit to Cooper Webb for doing what no one else has been willing to do for a long time. A 450 rider willing to race to 250 for the team. And I believe if Webb's not on the team, then Eli Tomac doesn't sign up to replace Sexton when Sexton gets hurt 2 weeks later. So to me, this all revolves around Webb. We'll get into that a little bit deeper with Clinton Fowler and our stats. But when you look at these 3, JT, is this team as strong as everyone else? Can they win this with this lineup?
Can they? Yes. I think they have an uphill climb here. They have some things to deal with. None of these riders have ever ridden this racetrack before. They're not going to have a practice session on like a Thursday before the event, kind of acclimate, get used to their bikes, get used to just the cooler temperatures and the dirt and all those things which we've seen them do in the past. So there are some things that I would like to have a little bit of a better setup than we have. But if we had to have 2 last-minute replacements and those ended up being Cooper Webb and Eli Tomac, things aren't so bad. So I kind of give them that outside chance. It's one of those things where they're going to have to be on their game. They're going to have their best day on a track that don't forget, these guys that they're up against have all raced this track year after year after year in GPs. So they're going to know this track like the back of their hand on the first lap out on Saturday. They're gonna and Team USA is going to have to figure all those things out. Settings, all those things are going to be new for them on the weekend. So it's not going to be an easy thing. But hey, I don't think they'd want it any other way. I know Cooper Webb feels like he has some unfinished business from 2016 in Majora, and Eli Tomac, go back and watch those SMX races and tell me he's not back to form. So if you had to set up a situation where we were in dire straits of trying to put a team together, we just need 3 people out of 300 million, and these are the 3 we landed on. I would go to battle with those 3 anytime.
Well, yeah, we've seen before where when one rider gets hurt or can't participate, the whole thing starts to go sideways, which brings us back to the Matterley Basin history at this event. Now, 2006, Team USA actually won the race at this track. Those were some glory years in the middle of a big win streak. Ryan Villapoto, James Stewart, Tim Ferry, they did a great job that year. I mean, those are some big hitters, right? 2017, and also I'm going to mention Donations last year in his example how it can go the other way. 2017, the squad had a tough time even fielding the team, and they were pulling riders that, well, they picked Thomas Covington because he was an American racing in Europe, which is the easiest way to do it. Cole Seeley, I think, was 5th in 450 motocross points he raced. So it's an example of how quickly things can turn sideways. That 2017 year was not great for Team USA at this track.
Yeah, I still, my feelings are still hurt from how poorly 2017 went, but that's what this race is. If you're not prepared, you don't put your best foot forward, and you don't show up on Sunday the way you need to, you will get embarrassed at this event. These riders, they're acclimated to this, right? They're coming right off of the final round of MXGP. They are firing on all cylinders on a track that they know very, very well. So I love the challenge, and I think if you ask Eli Tomac and Cooper Webb and Aaron Plessing, are they up for a fight? They would tell you yes immediately. That is who they are as people. They're going to get one on Sunday, and yeah, we'll see where it shakes out, but it is not going to be an easy day for them.
Yeah, just respect for these guys, Webb and Tomac, and their team, Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing, for stepping up and making this happen, because we've seen many years, including last season, where as soon as the top guys go out, you don't even get the second level guys. We had Christian Craig, who didn't even race motocross last year with injury, filling in at the last second. This is a solid team. We'll see how it goes.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.